you should want to be with somebody who is self-aware about their strengths and is going to be aware of your strengths and is going to see that as something that strengthens the unit. What's up, baddies? Welcome to Habibaes,
where no topic is off the table.
Today we're going to talk about a topic that one of you baddies actually submitted, and it's around the idea of whether this man or any man is supportive of their wife's shine. And what that means is there a point at which my success would make him offended or intimidated or jealous or whatever the above? And yeah, it's something we actually talk about a lot, and I'm kind of going to pose the question to you. So has there ever been a time, let's start there, has there ever been a time in your life where you felt threatened in the past by your significant other's success or achievement? And tell us about that.
Definitely.
Okay.
I think growing up in Lebanon, we are fine-tuned to this mentality that the man is supposed to make more than the woman. The man is obliged to provide for the woman, and that the woman's place in the household is strictly to be a housewife, right? And then after coming to the U.S. and just broadening my experiences and meeting so many people from all over the world. And when I mean people all over the world, I'm talking about successful people, intelligent people, people that have made changes in this world, from conferences to work to C-suite to just being exposed to all these people. You start to realize that all these rules we put in place are just fabricated. Yeah. Like nobody said that a woman is restricted to be a housewife. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And there's nothing wrong with that either. But it should be,
of course. Yeah, exactly. I think that's what I'm trying to get to.
It is the hardest job. I don't cook my own meals. Like, we get meals, literally. We get a whole meal service. We have HelloFresh, which we do cook together. But, like, it's hard, dude. Like, there's a lot of mental energy and planning that goes into that. So I don't want to, like, downplay that role. I just don't like the idea of that being forced on anybody, obviously. But then that also, like, if I believe that, then I should also believe that it shouldn't be forced on the man to be the quote-unquote provider. And that's where things get a little tricky, I think, is there is a double standard sometimes with those things.
Yeah. I'm glad you made a good point about that. Because, a housewife, I see my sister, what she does, she works full-time, and she takes care of the kids, and she takes... we love you. So yeah, it really is a very hard job, but like you said, it shouldn't be mandatory.
Right.
That you're supposed to stay in the house and all that.
So you were saying that you, growing up in Lebanon and just in that culture, the Latinos call it machismo. I don't know that we have like a word for it, but honestly we should, because it's such a strong like driver.
Yeah, there is. It's it's like marajel, rijal.
And marajel, it all comes from the root of rijal, which is manhood. So it's like the same.
Yeah.
Rijal means man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And once you start to pick apart the human element, you start picking apart the brain and how it functions, and you start to look deep in your soul and your existence, and once you start picking those pieces apart, you start to realize that it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like nothing really matters.
Right.
When it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, I just look at the big picture.
Yeah.
And that big picture is health and comfort and love, right? If my wife is doing what she loves and in return that's providing us with the comfort, who am I to say no?
Yeah.
Right? And part of that love is, would I love to hang out with my kids during the day and take them to school? I would love to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now we're actually in a competition, Rima and I.
We are in a competition.
And the competition is who's going to retire who first.
I'm definitely a little behind right now. but you guys, okay, don't sleep on the underdog. Okay, so just wait on it. I can't wait to clip that part of the video in the future. Anyway, but it's a friendly competition. Honestly, it's just to be cute and funny that like we both really support each other so much. Honestly though, now that we're talking about it, I really, really struggled to believe that I would find an Arab man who has enough culture to where he embraces his culture and his values, but somehow left that other part out. Because unfortunately, that is part of our culture. It is part of our culture and how we were raised to believe certain things about like gender roles that I personally don't subscribe to. we could talk about gender roles later. I do think that we happen to subscribe to some of them, but I don't agree with the fact that we need to fit neatly into any of that. And I feel like it's such a blessing that I did find somebody who is very cultured and still knows the language and cares to like raise your kids with that culture, but at the same time, you're also open to challenging certain parts of it. Because that's the kind of era that I consider myself as someone who wants to hold on to a lot of that culture, but also wants to challenge a lot of it when I don't think it makes sense, you know?
Yeah. I'm always looking to grow different aspects of me, and one thing I realized is the reason that was a problem in the past is because, you know, a lot of people care how other folks perceive them.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
So
true.
it's like if you're at home, your wife's working, people are gonna point fingers at you, they're gonna look down on you. And it's all a matter of an outsider's perspective.
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, I'm at a point where I really don't care what other people think about me.
Yeah.
Because I do what I love. I'm doing what I said I've always wanted to do, and I don't have to prove myself to anybody.
Right.
I am who I am, and I love it.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's so true. I think for a lot of people in our community, honestly, not just men, I think a lot of women get embarrassed if they're making more money than their husband. They're embarrassed that people are going to judge them or judge their husband. It's just a toxic, like very none of your business type of thing that I feel like it's just really none of anyone's business if people aren't happy.
People are going to watch this and have all these takeaways, right? What if somebody that's in your shoes, right?
Yeah.
And that position is being forced upon them? What is your advice to people who find themselves in a situation where they're being forced to take a role that they didn't intend to?
Right. So, I mean,
from a woman's perspective,
I feel like I haven't had anyone come to me with that. Not that that's not an issue, I'm sure it is. The similar issue that I have heard from people are like the idea around, like they do, like obviously the women I work with are Arab women who are interested in starting a brand or a business. So at that point, they're already wanting to start something for themselves. And I have had in like situations where the man in the relationship either tries to like dim her, I don't know what better word to use, but keep her playing small or kind of minimize her dreams or minimize her ambitions. And obviously the worst case of that would be just kind of like not let her do certain things. And I'm not trying to homework anyone's life at this point, so take it or leave it. But I just really think that relationships should be a team. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it should be a team. And on any team, let's forget about relationships for a second. On a basketball team, on any team, you look at people's strengths and you put them in a specific role based on what their strengths are. And so, for example, let's just take me. I used to play volleyball and I hurt my shoulder. So for that reason, I couldn't serve. And I also sucked at serve receive, which is like the defense that you play in the back row. I was really good up front. I was really good at blocking. I was really good at hitting. So I would only play, I was a starter, but I would only play the first 3 rotations. And then when it came time for me to serve, they'd rotate me out. Basically put someone else in whose strength was not just serving, but also playing defense in the back. I say all that to say, like, it didn't make me feel bad about myself. I wanted the team to win. So I wasn't trying to volunteer to be in the back row, and that wasn't where my strengths lie. I'm saying all of this when it comes to relationships. It's like not just the relationship in the household, but if you do want kids, it strengthens what those kids' experience is going to be because each person, to the best of their ability, is playing to those individual strengths. One of my favorite sayings, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And what that means is instead of 2 + 2 = 4, in this case, 2 + 2 = 10, because it's not just what we each bring individually, it's how those parts play together in a dynamic way to create something way more than just the addition of me and you. Do you get what I'm saying? I love it. Don't you like that? It's a good one, right? So yeah, like I just feel like for everybody, if you were asking me the same question around a guy that I was friends with, and if he was with somebody who didn't believe in his dreams, like I would say the same thing. You should want to be with somebody who believes that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts and shouldn't be intimidated by the strengths that you bring. So that's what I would have to say about that. Yeah.
Yeah, don't let them put out your flame.
Yeah, that's a whole other YouTube video. about people putting out flames, because it is a thing that people in our community love to do for some reason, and we can talk about that. But honestly, like, we've both experienced that and still experience that so much. And I think one thing that's so important about our relationship is like we air each other's flames. So we're constantly like he works out.
Definitely point of view.
Yeah, if I see that he got up and worked out, I'm gonna talk about it all day so that he feels good about that decision. I'm like gonna make sure that I can do whatever I can to enable things that make him happy and vice versa.
Like how you got up this morning to work out.
I did.
And I stayed in bed sleeping.
I did. It felt kind of good.
But I'm actually going right now in like 15 minutes anyway.
I have a question for Ahmad. So I know that you said that you want me to retire you, and like it makes you like to see my confidence and you like me to be successful, which sounds good. And I do believe it. Like I believe it wholeheartedly. But my question to you is, would there ever be a situation in our relationship where you would feel uncomfortable with my success, or you would feel small by something that like I'm being recognized for example?
It's funny you say that. I don't think so. Simply because when I look at my circle of friends, they're all achievers. They're all high performers. Mm-hmm. And I just feed off that energy, and it drives me to do better. Simple example is my calorie count on my watch used to be 850.
This is so funny.
And then the moment I saw my good friend Damola had his on 1,500 and Anthony had his on 1,500, I asked my buddy Kyle, yo Kyle, why are these guys doing 1,500? We're just doing like 1,000. What's up with that? So on the spot, we switched it to 1,500.
Who's we?
Me and Kyle.
Oh, okay, not me.
No.
I ain't doing 1,500.
No. Switched it to 1,500, and that's the new goal. And I've been doing it, been getting better, and all that takes like 2 Orange Theory Fitness sessions back to back. But we're doing it. So when it comes to competition, I look at it from a healthy standpoint. And if you're the one that's competing, you're only gonna make it better.
Yeah, I believe that. I really believe that. Like he means it. A lot of people can say that. I've definitely talked to men who've like been so impressed by this, and you're so smart, and you're so this. And then when you talk to them, they are definitely intimidated. It's like the same, and I used to tell my brother this all the time. I'd like be venting to him. The same thing that attracted them to me made them toxic in the relationship. And yeah, like I love that with Ahmed, I actually feel like he means it, because that was my biggest fear, is knowing that I have a big personality and knowing that I have a lot to bring to the table, and just afraid that I was going to end up with someone who at some point wanted to like contain that or dim that. So it definitely means so much to me that you never want to do that.
Love you.
So let us know below, what do you think? You know, do you find that it is something that you're personally dealing with, or maybe you know people who are dealing with that issue of feeling like one person wants to dim the other person's light, or there's this unhealthy conversation around who's making more money, and you know, just kind of feeling like you cannot realize your full potential in a relationship. We'd love to hear, you know, from your experiences, and we're always open to hearing any new topics that you want us to talk about, because again,
no topic is off the table.
All right, Habibaes. See you next time.